we see two children, or two babies to be specific, held in their now deceased mother's arms. As there would be a boy and a girl. The boy would be named Izuku Midoriya, and the girl would be named Izumi Midoriya. Their father and mother split up when they weren't even born, and since their mother was dead, their father was called to come claim them. But he hated this. Hiyashi didn't want two little bastards inside of his home. He had a nice, happy family. It was him, his wife, and his one daughter. His daughter had just turned 1, and, well, she was his little sunshine. And picking up two new children could possibly make her bratty, is the word I'm going to use. But he was forced to by law, and so a few days later, Hiyashi would come to pick up the children. Once he got them, he would look at both of them with faces of disgust. Izuku more than Izumi, though, because, well, Izuku just had something off about him. It was like he was mentally gone. He was a weird baby. He didn't cry. He didn't sleep a lot. He just observed his surroundings, as if he knew what was going on. But Hiyashi didn't mind, and he took the both of them home. Once they got there, Hiyashi would be met by his wife, Sarah. As she would say, what the hell are you doing with two babies? As Hiyashi would say, well, it seems that I accidentally got my old wife pregnant before I left her. As Hiyashi would be pretty nervous because Sarah didn't give a fuck and she would drop this nigga. As Sarah would say, so you brought two little bastards inside of our home. Why didn't you just put them up for adoption? As Hiyashi would say, that is kind of a dick move, and I'm no dick. Plus, I really don't want to ruin my reputation. As Sarah would say, fine, fine. Well, get them a room, I guess. Set them up some cribs and, well, baby things. I don't know. As Hiyashi would say, alright, darling. I'll, do that. As we now have a time skip of 3 years. And in this 3 years, Izumi, well, she's grown to be a part of the family. She's, well, made friends with Hiyashi's daughter, or her stepsister, and, well, she's loved by the family. She's relatively outgoing and, well, an all around joy to be around. But Izuku, on the other hand, his mind still isn't there. And it seems like he's aggressive. Way more aggressive than a child his age should be. It's like the boy's been through war, pain, and suffering. Izuku is a loner. He doesn't care about anyone, not even his family. And Hiyashi beats him when his sister tends to get on Izuku's nerves. Izuku would often hit her as a way to relieve his stress and anger. He would have so many things piled up in his mind, so many horrible thoughts, that they would come out violently when his sister went to mess with them. And because of this, Hiyashi would beat the boy relentlessly, not holding up. He would just beat and beat and beat Izuku until he was unresponsive. This is when Hiyashi would usually stop, and he'd usually put Izuku in an ice bath so that his wounds would be healed. But Izuku had a pretty fast healing factor that Hiyashi would have noticed, and so he wouldn't really worry about the beatings. But now we're gonna have a time skip to when the children are 4. Izuku, Izumi, and I'll name the girl Vanessa, Hiyashi's daughter. Now she'll be 5, and she got her quirk assessed. I'll say she could breathe fire. Why not? I don't care. And yeah, she can breathe fire. Izumi would get the ability to manipulate fire, but it would be at like medium power. So she'd be strong, but not as strong as Hiyashi. But Izuku, on the other hand, he would be quirkless. As Hiyashi would hear about this, as his face, it would go into an immediate face of disgust. As Izuku would say, this being his first year, or his first time talking to Hiyashi literally ever, he'd say, with a smile on his face, "What's wrong, father? Am I not good enough for you?" And this would piss Hiyashi off, because he wanted to make money off of the 2 little bastards that he had to take in. And since, well, Deku didn't have a court, there was no way he was going to be a hero, which meant there was no way he was going to get money off of him. But the doctor would speak up and say, "Excuse me, sir. Could you step into this room for a moment?" As the man would say, "I kinda need to speak to you privately on a topic about the quirkless boy." As Hiyashi would just nod his head angrily, as he would go into the room with the doctor. In the room, the doctor would say, "So, your son, Izuku, as you know, he's quirkless, and I don't know if you know, but we have a program that turns quirkless kids into soldiers that will fight for this country. And it's a relatively good program, and once they're done fighting, they'll be sent back to their families. Plus, it'll give them life experience, and they might even seem to awaken their quirks. Who knows, he might just be a late bloomer." As Hiyashi would smile at this idea, he'd say, "Alright then, let's do it." As he would sign away his rights to Izuku, as Izuku would be dragged into the room with the doctor. As the doctor would say, "Hold on, Izuku, I just need to give you a shot, that's all." As Izuku would simply nod his head, as he'd get the shot and pass out. 5 minutes later, Izumi would be kind of worried, as she'd ask, "Dad, where's Big Brother Izuku?" "Well, honey, he was sent away with the other quirkless people. He's gonna go have fun. You know, your brother. He's never loosened up, so the doctor said this would be good for him." As, well, Vanessa, I think I named her. Yeah, Vanessa, which is, Hiyashi's daughter, would say, "Huh, So he's gonna go have fun? Why couldn't we go with him? As not Deku, Hiyashi would just say, well, this is only for quirkless people. And thank God you two have quirks. As he would mumble this part and say, well, who wants to go get ice cream? As they would both raise their hands as they would go off to get ice cream. We now cut back to Deku, who is knocked out, bag over his head. As we now go into 10 more minutes, as Deku would wake up. He would look around him. He would see multiple other children. As he'd say, where the hell am I? Who are you guys? As one of the boys to his right would be telling Izuku to shush. As Izuku would say, what's wrong? As a loud gunshot would go off. But there wouldn't be any screams. Izuku would have a bullet through his shoulder, though. As Izuku would bear the pain, it wouldn't really hurt him as bad as the man thought it would. As the man would smile and say, so, you're a tough little cookie, aren't you? As he would get his gun and point it towards Izuku's other shoulder. As he'd pull the trigger, a loud gunshot would go off, and Izuku would have another bullet in his shoulder. Izuku wouldn't wince at this one either, but then the man would put the gun to his head and say, I don't believe I said you could speak. And that boy over there, as the man would put the gun to the boy's head and pull the trigger, or try to pull the trigger. But Izuku wouldn't allow him to. He would take the gun from the man, as he would hold it up to his head and say, you bastard. I don't think you should be killing kids. We don't deserve this. But you, on the other hand, you shot me twice. And for that you deserve death. As Izuku's eyes would go black, as he'd become lifeless, as he would pull the trigger, as the man's brains would go splatting everywhere. As Izuku would say, I guess that'll do, won't it? No, sorry for the voice crack. As Izuku would say, no, let's go. We kinda have to get to the next room. I think it's to that door. As Deku and the other 25 children would go through the next door, as Izuku would see 5 operatives this time. They would all look confused as they'd say, where's Benji? As Izuku would say, Benji. Oh, Benji. Was he the guy back there that was in charge of us? As the guards would say, yes, he was. Where is he? Don't tell me he's sleeping on the job again. I swear that lazy bastard's gonna get fired. Oh, don't worry about him. He's dead. As the guards would say, wait, what? He's what? As Izuku would say, he's dead. They all saw me kill him. Didn't you guys? As the guards would be pretty pissed off at this. As the children would shake their heads, yes. As the guards would say, you killed Benji. You bastard! As they would grab Izuku, as he'd have a smile on his face, because this is what he had been wanting. Somewhere he can relieve his stress. As they would take them to what seemed to be the boss of this place. As the 25 children would all line up, with Deku being in the front of all of them. As he'd be being held by the guards. As the guards would walk up to the leader and say, sorry. They'd say, this little boy killed Benji. As the captain would say, a little boy, huh? As he would look at Izuku, and it would remind him a lot of himself. As he would take off his hat and put it on Izuku's head, as he'd say, "Good job, kid. Props on your first kill." As Izuku would smile, bow, and turn back to walk away. Right back to his group of, well, companions, I guess. As the guards would be still pretty pissed off, as they'd say, "Aren't you gonna punish him?" As the captain would look at them and say, "If Benji was weak enough to be killed by a kid, then he didn't deserve to live." As the guards wouldn't be too happy about this. They would, well, want to get revenge on Deku. As they would show all the newly, well, brought in recruits to their cells. Or rooms, I guess you could call them. As Izuku would be shown to his, and he would be pretty tired, so he'd go to sleep. A few hours later, he could hear noises in his cell. His cell door would begin to open, and 5 men with knives would come in. But Izuku would be prepared. Both of his eyes were black with a blue pupil. As Deku would hop out of his bed before the men could come any closer to his body and say, "What the hell are you guys doing in my cell?" As he would see the knives and the smiles on the men's faces. As they'd say, "This is for killing Benji, you little bastard!" As one of the men would rush at him, but Izuku would kick him in his kneecap, damn near breaking it, taking the knife from his hand and cutting his throat. As the man would fall to his death. As Izuku would smile and say, "One down, 4 more to go." As he would throw up his knife and kick it towards one of the men, it would pierce him in the shoulder, but almost at blinding speeds. Izuku didn't know he had this type of speed until just now, but he would rush behind the man. He would punch the man in the back, breaking his spine completely, as he'd get the man's head and snap his neck. As he'd look at the 3 other men, as they would all rush him at the same time, but Izuku would take the knife out of the man's shoulder, as he would cut all of their throats, as he would leave them there to bleed out. Izuku would then call for more guards, as they would come in and see the mess. Sorry, but the guards would come in and see the mess, and they'd say, "Kid, did you do this?" As Izuku would just nod his head and say, "Get it cleaned up, would you? Thanks." As the guards would take the bodies, toss them in acid, burning the bodies completely. Oops. And now we go back to, well, Izuku sleeping. Shit, that nigga tired as fuck. He did not care. He would be dreaming, but it wouldn't be the dream. It wouldn't be a dream at the same time. It felt real. This is when Izuku would see a little boy, or a boy who was taller than. Because, mind you, Izuku would be, nah, he was shorter than the boy by a few inches. Why not? As this boy would happen to be Mikazuki August. As he would say, "So you're the one I came to instead of Orca. You know, I could be with Orca right now, living a peaceful life in heaven. As Izuku would say, Orca, do you mean the well? As, well, Mikazuki would walk over to Izuku and slap him and say, shut up, you damn insect. You're the reason I'm here. I could be with Orca, Ultra, Cordelia. They're dead now. I won't ever get to see them again because I'm inside of you. Izuku would say, calm down. Please, really. It's not my fault. It's not like I wanted you here. I don't even need you here. I'm strong enough on my own. Mikazuki would say, actually, no, you're not. You've been fighting off of my memories, using all of my techniques. He'd say, those aren't your moves, they're mine. And that would make you a thief. Thief of stealing my moves. Izuku would say, that's no way. There's no way that's possible. I couldn't have your moves. I made those. Mikazuki would say, alright then, test them on me. As Izuku would say, fine. As he would rush at Mikazuki, throwing a fake left and trying to hit him with a right, but Mikazuki would block this almost effortlessly as he would knee Izuku in the stomach and slam him into the ground. As he would say, you're weak. Get stronger and then come back and talk to me. Understand, you little bastard. As he would stomp Deku's face in, knocking him out. This is when Izuku would wake up in the real world. It would be daytime. Izuku would be, what's the word I'm looking for? He would be greeted by a guard at his cell. Because the man would say, good morning, kid. Get your clothes on. You have an assignment to do today. As Izuku would say, assignment, huh? I guess. I'm coming. As the guard would continue to rush Izuku. Izuku would get his clothes on as he would walk out his cell door, and along with all of the other students. Along his way, Izuku met a kid named Grayson. He was nice and pretty good to talk to. As Izuku would like to talk to him. As him and Grayson would have made a sort of friendship in this small time that they walked together. As Izuku would get to the courtyard along with everybody else, they would see the head boss of this organization. As the boss would say, today you guys will be fighting, all of you, to the death. As Izuku would say, to the death. Wait, don't you need us? As the man would smile and say, you're right, we do need you, don't we? You are war candidates after all. So, I guess you'll just be sparring today. But that won't mean it won't be competitive. We're gonna make brackets. The winner's bracket and the loser's bracket. The top 3 to advance will become leaders among you guys. They will get extra food, extra clothing, and an all-around better life. Plus, they won't have to sleep in those crummy cells. Izuku was pretty excited because he didn't like to sleep in that cell. It was crummy and uncomfortable. As Izuku would be ready to fight at any moment. As he would have it, he'd be the first fight. It would be Izuku versus some random little kid. about his height, but pretty bulky. But Izuku wouldn't be worried. Is the proctor would say, "Go." The boy would rush at Izuku, throwing a punch, but Izuku would block it. As he'd say, "Is this all you got? 'Cause if so, I guess I'll end it here." As Izuku would hit the boy so hard into his stomach that he would throw up. As the boy would fall to his knees and collapse, being knocked out and unconscious. After Izuku's fight, there'd be a few other fights to go on. And, well, they would all end up with the bulkier person winning. Until we get to Izuku and a kid named Abraham. This Abraham kid, he was skinny. And he was fast. Much like Meliodas. Or Izuku in this case. As the proctor would look at the both of them and think to himself, "Huh. So this kid is going up against Master's brother. Well then, the kid better beat his ass." As Izuku would hear a little bit of this and say, "So, he's the brother of the bastard that brought me here. Let's send him a little message, shall we?" As Izuku would rush at the boy as soon as the proctor said go, as he would jam him in his chest. The boy would go flying back, but he would bounce off of the wall and run at Izuku, almost kicking him in his face, but Izuku, being the smoothest nigga in the world, would dodge, as he would grab the boy's leg and slam him into the ground, as he would begin to repeatedly bash his elbow into the young boy's face. As he'd say, "How does it taste? Tell me, kid, tell me." Is the leader's son, well, not son, the leader's brother would be begging Izuku to stop, but he didn't. He would keep going and going until he heard a pop, which would be the noise of, well, the leader's brother's nose breaking. Shit, that nigga nose is gone. Fucking Izuku broke the fuck out of his nose. As he would lay there on the ground in agony, calling for his brother's help. But his brother was spectating this fight. As he'd say, "Now that he's down, finish him." As Izuku would look back and say, "Isn't he your brother?" "Yeah, but he's also going to try to kill you if he gets back up, so kill him." As Izuku would say, "Alright." Izuku would take the gun that he was given by the head man, or the leader, as he would walk over to his brother, stand over his body, and pop him 5 times in the face. Well, shit. The man would say, "Good job. Now for your next mission. This will be an assassination mission. We will have to kill Momo Yagorozu of the Yagorozu family." As Deku would nod his head and go get some rest. But guys, I'm going to be leaving it off here because it's 11:42 and I have testing in the morning. But bye guys.